If you are considering cutting out carbs for weight loss, I have three things that I want you to consider. Number one, do you want to? Like, do you want to stop eating carbs? What would that be like for you to cut out bread, pasta, et cetera, et cetera? And is that something that sounds appealing to you? Because the answer to that question matters. You deserve to live your life by your design and to do things that you want to do. And you deserve to be able to limit doing things that you don't want to do. So that's my first question for you, is when you think about cutting out carbs, when you think about not eating pasta, bread, rice, whatever it is, grains, do you want to do that? And number two, my second thing for you to consider is, what would that really entail? So think about the foods that you wouldn't be eating, or think about maybe the carbs that you eat now that you would be cutting out. So like, what would that look like? Would that look like not eating the toast that you usually eat for breakfast? Or would that look like not eating the sandwich that you usually eat for lunch? Or would that look like not making the casseroles you usually make at dinner? Like, what would that really look like? And does that sound doable to you? I might also consider, when you're asking the question of like, what would that really entail if I'm about to cut out carbs for weight loss? Does that mean that I am going to be tracking my food, or I'm going to be like using my MyFitnessPal or something like that? So then you can ask yourself the question of like, is that something that I want to do? Or like, how do I really think that's going to play out? Emotionally, what's that going to be like for me? How much time is that going to take for me? And then I am curious, so when you think about what this would really entail, might it also entail having to cook separate dinners from your family? If you are going to not be cutting out their carbs, but cutting out carbs for you, then does that mean that you're going to have to eat separate meals? And if you have kids, I want you to consider the long-term ramifications of that, because they're going to see mom or dad, a caregiver, eating separate meals, and that's going to seem curious to them. And is that setting a good example for them? Because then they're going to adopt this belief system that carbs are bad, I need to stay away from these foods, I need to be controlling and micromanaging my food. And that could potentially lead to disordered eating for your child. And when you ask, like, what would that really entail? Would that mean, saying no to Thursday night chips and queso with your girlfriends? Or would that look like, saying just not being able to participate in life, really? And does that sound appealing to you? And then the third thing that I would consider if you are thinking about cutting out carbs for weight loss is just long-term how this might play out. So if you think about cutting out carbs, like bread, pasta, rice, whatever it is, do you think that you are going to be able to sustain that forever? And if the answer is no, then what's going to happen when you reintegrate carbs? So if you're doing this for weight loss, and let's say you do lose some weight when you cut out carbs, a lot of times, side note, that's water weight. But let's say you do lose some weight, but then what's going to happen when you reintegrate the carbs? You see, so like, I would just really encourage you to think long-term about this. And then the last thing I would offer to you is the research, which shows that cutting out carbs for weight loss doesn't work long term. What will happen is you'll probably end up gaining more weight than you initially lost. But then also, just like the number one thing that I would want to put on your radar is binge eating. Just how much more likely you are to develop binge eating disorder, or to end up just going cray-cray on some carbs after a period of cutting them out. So when we restrict, we are very vulnerable to binging. Binging is kind of just what awaits us on the other end of the spectrum of restricting food. So again, long term, like, would that really work? And I'll just go ahead and spoiler alert. Nope. It wouldn't even work for long-term weight loss. So like, do you really want to put yourself through that? Also, you guys know I'm Italian as ever, and like, I don't want to live a life where I can't have pasta and bread and all the yummy things. And there really is a way for you to be able to have carbs and for it to be balanced and for it to not, and for that to be just a part of like a healthful lifestyle. And we need carbs, you guys. We need them to stay alive. Carbs are the body's primary and preferred source of energy, and they're the only source of energy your brain can use. Isn't this fascinating? Which is why anxiety is often a hunger symptom. We lose the ability, like our hormones don't regulate as well when we are lacking carbs, when we're lacking nourishment in general, but specifically carbs, which is why we get hangry and irritable and all of these things. So carbs are so essential for proper brain and body function. So 0 out of 10 would definitely not recommend cutting out carbs for weight loss. All right. If you currently feel like you can't control yourself around carbs, then cutting them out is only going to exacerbate that problem because of what I said about how restriction leads to binging. So what you'd want to do is figure out how you can control yourself around them, have balance with them, make peace with them. That's what I help with. So if you would like support, please send me a DM or click the link in my bio to apply for a free call with me. All right. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. If you are interested in working with me, now is a great time because you will set yourself up for success for the holidays and you won't be binging and overeating come Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all of that. New Year's, Hanukkah. Okay, let me know what you guys need. Love you. Have a good week. Bye.